Yeah, we got it. All right. I will call the January 21st, 2025 EDA meeting to order. Second on the list, we need to adopt the agenda. Do I have any motions?
I'd make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or comments on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor? Say aye.
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 Opposed? We have an agenda. Item number 3, consider the reappointment of Tom. I do this every time. I'm sorry. It's just Tom. Tom Schulzetenberg.
Yep.
How'd I do?
Very good.
Thank you. So Tom's, Tom, do you want me to take it? Do you want to take it?
Sure, I can take
Okay.
it, Madam Chair, if you'd like. Tom has served on the East Bethel EDA since February 2019, and his current appointment expires on January 31st, 2025. And it is customary to allow the commissioner to decide if they want to run again or seek reappointment from the council. So this would be that opportunity. And if so, then the EDA members can vote on considering that approval and sending that recommendation to the City Council.
I'm willing to be reappointed if the council would like me to. Thank you.
Okay.
So can I make a motion? Sure. I'd make a motion to reappoint Tom Schulzetenberg to the EDA. Confirm the reappointment.
I'd second that.
I third that. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
All right. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And with that, number 4, we need to appoint and elect our EDA officers. So Matt, I'll let you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, per the EDA bylaws, the officers of the authority shall consist of the president, vice president, treasurer, assistant treasurer, and secretary. And a commissioner must not serve as president and vice president at the same time. The EDA bylaws state that the treasurer shall be the executive director of the authority and that the executive director shall be the city administrator. The EDA bylaws also state that the assistant treasurer will be the city finance director. And so you will see here for 2024, Madam Chair, yourself as president, vice president was Tom, myself as the treasurer, assistant treasurer was Mike Jaworski, and the secretary is Carrie Frost from staff. So staff recommends the EDA elect a president and vice president and appoint a secretary to serve for February 1st, 2025 through January 31st, 2026, and designate myself, the administrator, to serve as the treasurer and the finance director as the assistant treasurer.
All right.
Are you up for another term?
I would be happy to serve. Yes. And I've talked to Tom, and Tom,
Well, I know that
Tom would be happy as well.
Seeing that that 3 of these positions basically are designated by statute, so to speak, by city charter, I would move that I would nominate Julie Lux and also Tom as the vice president and put 2 of them up. Put the 2 of you up as in one motion.
It's a voting block.
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We're on. Thank you. That motion carries. So that leads us to the next item. Given Suzanne Urkel's appointment to the council, we do have a vacancy on our EDA. So Matt, I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, Madam Chair. So this may not happen all the time, but Suzanne Urkel served as a citizen member to the board and was successful in her campaign for election to City Council, which then creates the vacancy here, as noted. And so the staff is recommending the EDA declare a vacancy and authorize the advertisement for recruitment or for those that might be interested in serving on the EDA to send in their applications.
So let's talk a little bit about the timing. So we would advertise for the opening. We'd collect letters of interest. So would we need to wait until our next EDA meeting for the interviews, or is that something we could do in the interim, or how does that work?
Madam Chair, I would suggest that that we collect. It may take a little while to get some interest out there and
Okay.
applications in. We collect those applications. Then at the next EDA meeting, you can call the interested parties in to ask them questions as to why they would want to serve, or what talents they bring to the table, that sort of thing. And then there can be a recommendation from the EDA to the city council to appoint so-and-so. And then the council can decide from there if they want to take that recommendation or if they want to go a different route. And perhaps has happened both ways since I've been here, but anyways.
Yes, it is. Okay. So you're recommending that we need to
Just a motion to
declare
declare
a
a
vacancy,
vacancy. Yep.
that we've got a vacancy.
Yep.
All right. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that declaring a vacancy on the EDA.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that?
This vacancy would, as specified, would just go to 2027, that's correct? And there would be a reappointment presumably after that term, is that right?
I believe it may be for the balance of the term,
Yeah.
and then at that point they can seek reappointment. So it'd be for the duration of the balance, so that it expires on January 31st, 2027. So
Okay.
it'd have a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And just as an aside, so the 6-year term, that's called out in our city charter, but is that a state mandate?
I believe that is in state statute,
Okay,
6-year term. Yep.
just, I learned that before and I thought that was interesting. Okay.
Right. Some cities have charters that are different
Okay,
and could spell that out differently, but we do not have a city charter here or a charter commission, and so we follow state law.
okay, got it. Okay, so we have a vacancy on our EDA. So you'll be posting that, it'll be up on the reader board, on the website. We'll be reaching out to others in the community that we thought will be great candidates, and plan on doing the interviews next month.
Okay. If you want to take a motion,
I think I got one on the floor.
Oh, we didn't vote, sorry.
Yeah.
Tom's discussion went,
Yeah.
sorry.
Secret of
So we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we do have a vacancy.
excellent.
Thank you.
We'll get on that right away.
All right. So item number 6, we need to approve our December 16th, 2024 EDA minutes.
And Madam Chair, just as far as the minutes are concerned, the highlighted yellow area, the correct spelling on this is Colvin, Kyle Colvin. And I think those are the only changes, unless you've noticed other changes that need to happen to the city council, to the minutes rather.
Any comments on the comments, changes on the minutes? Otherwise, if someone would like to make a motion,
I'm on a roll.
okay,
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as submitted
thank
with
you.
the corrections that Matt noted on the spelling.
Great.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, I wasn't here.
That's
I'll
right.
abstain too.
All right, thank you.
Abstentions.
Opposed? All right. We've got approved minutes. Number 7, Mr. Look.
Okay, Madam Chair and members, a couple of things I just wanted to update folks on here before we jump right into this. First is that everyone's probably heard that Aaron has departed the city and is actually working with the city of Columbus now. he took an opportunity there as a assistant city administrator, and he was very interested in kind of making that next step in his career, so we wish him well. And that being the case, I kind of left a vacancy here in terms of our planning work with the city and the questions that come in and those sorts of things. How tall can my fence be? How many chickens can I have, et cetera. And so, not to mention the variances that come through and, you know, the questions as it relates to setbacks and everything else. So the city council approved a contract with Landform with an individual by the name of Kendra Lindahl, and there's two other gentlemen that will be assisting her as well. But so far, I just want to report that Kendra has been hitting the ground running, has been responding to all the requests that have been coming through. So she's been doing a great job. We are also advertising right now for a city planner. So in the event that we've not been successful in the past to find one, evidently the marketplace right now is a little tough for that type of workforce, that type of talent. So in the interest of making sure that everything is covered on a timely basis, we'll be working with Landform until we can find a suitable replacement, in which case they can train that replacement and they can help bring them up to speed on the work here at the city. We are also going to be talking about advertising for a community development director, which kind of brings into this conversation here that we're going to be talking about here this evening. Also, just by way of an update, tomorrow the Anoka County is putting on an economic summit at the TPC in Blaine. I will be attending that with a table, and we'll be kind of chatting with people that might be interested in Anoka County, at least in terms of development or relocation, that sort of thing. I think Anoka County has a great story to tell, especially with the big investments that are occurring on the highway systems, particularly Highway 65, which is a segue into what we're going to be talking about here. As we know, we rezoned a portion of the city right here. This is your Sims up here. And this was residential in the past. And you'll recall I brought this before the EDA before kind of you had made a recommendation for rezoning it to the city council. They passed that. But essentially having residential right along Highway 65 and the noise associated with 65 maybe wasn't the best fit as far as zoning goes. But this given the case, we are, this year we'll be working with the legislature and installing in this quadrant over here, we'll be installing, hopefully, if we get funding from the state, a water treatment center, a well, and a water tower, and pipes then going to the schools, which I believe are over here, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you gotta go further north.
I'm sorry?
Further north. You ain't up to Sims yet. It's not even on that map.
Okay. Sorry, I was thinking that was Sims here. My apologies. Not the detail.
The area you're picturing there is right next to the arena.
Okay. At any rate, the development or whatever, this may be, yeah, this is the rezoning of it. The development, the water treatment, the well, the water tower is going to feed the schools. That's the primary purpose there, is to hook the schools up to city sewer and water services. They have some failing septic systems right now. They're going to need to replace those if they can't hook up to city sewer services, and they had indicated an interest in doing so. But we're also going to then stub in to this area here the access for city sewer and water as well. So if commercial industrial comes in here, they're going to be looking at probably a minimum of 5 acres, something like that, versus if they come in with the availability of city sewer and water services, the densities are far greater, right? So right now, let's say that maybe the land is worth, I don't know, I'm going to throw a number out there. Say it's $15,000 an acre. When city sewer and water comes through, or at least is available, it may be up to $50,000 an acre at that point because of the densities and the values associated with that. So what we have currently right now is an outdated, shall we say, a flyover, a drone flyover, kind of highlighting some of the economic development areas within the city, some of the projects that are out there. This is kind of maybe one of the more projects that are maybe becoming more readily available, right? I mean, a lot of emphasis is being put on this area. We're getting calls coming in. There's some developers that are very interested in this at this point, and they're going to be reaching out to property owners and that sort of thing. So this might be, I'm going to throw out some ideas for the EDA because we kind of chatted a little bit about that before. Do we want to update a flyover, kind of highlighting this area and some of the work that can be done in that? Additional to that, what can be done is you can take this property here and with the agreement of the property owners, kind of start to ghost plat it a little bit in terms of laying out, this is what it would look like for if there's commercial industrial through here or a road, or how would it lay out, you know, in terms of spacing and that sort of thing, to give developers an idea of, you know, how many tip-up buildings, for example, could be placed in here. What sort of footprints could we be looking at, that sort of thing. So take a little, not necessarily a deep dive into it, but maybe not a 30,000 foot view, but maybe a 10,000 foot view of what it might look like in the future, and give people an idea rather than seeing raw land and kind of not knowing what can happen at that point. That's an option as well. And then we've talked a little bit about EDA dollars and how does the EDA start to focus on certain areas and possibly acquire land and possibly make it available for development. All that is part of this discussion, and it kind of relates back to if the land is $15,000 an acre today, if and when the city is successful in getting the $10.5 million ask from the state for the water treatment project, you know, then does that land become more valuable? And if that is true, if that's a true statement, then what often happens is cities, you know, they come in the form of TIF or some sort of help for developers. Now, like TIF or not like TIF, I mean, that's kind of different people have their opinions on that. However, if a city owns a chunk of land, for example, that they bought for $15,000, and they can sell it to a potential developer for $15,000 when they would otherwise pay $50,000, that is a form of a you know, consideration, at least for a potential developer coming in. The city would potentially break even on that, not lose any money, and yet bring in somebody that they, you know, would want to come in, that would bring jobs, they would bring economic development, they would bring tax base. So these are kind of the ideas that I just wanted to present to you here this evening. Is kind of start a discussion on it. That's why it was somewhat informal on the agenda. Staff isn't necessarily directing one way or the other, but if we are going to, for example, in this summit tomorrow, we don't have the information such as this, but for future opportunities such as that, to be able to bring visuals to the table that people can say, well, you could locate right here in this location. This is, you know, the road access that you would have and everything else. I think it helps people visualize, at least site selectors visualize opportunities that they might not otherwise consider. So I will leave it at that.
Matt, what I'm trying to cite in my mind, isn't it between on the west side of the highway, isn't 200 from 223rd to 225th, that large purple square, isn't that you Puller Outer Parts?
Yeah, that's you pull it.
Huh?
That's you pull it.
Let me see if I can get to a better.
Yeah, that's you pull it. The small one in you pull it. Hunter's in. The two top ones are owned by
Yeah,
Carpentiers.
yeah.
And the bottom two there, the one on the corner there of Klondike that's owned by Baynard Bolt, that's a 5-acre lot. And then the other one's part of Adam Arneson's project.
I know you have some experience with the piece lying north of Klondike.
Yeah,
Used to be your employer's shop, if I remember right.
yes, it was.
You know,
So is this the correct parcel on the map that we're,
I'm just gonna pull
Talking
it up
about-
here.
yeah, let's make sure that that's.
Yeah.
Cause you pull it, I doubt if you'll ever get anything else in there.
I,
That'll be so contaminated that.
Right.
And I don't think.
I
having-
personally think, from my experience as in commercial construction, having city water available, it isn't so much for the potable use for it, it's for fire protection, correct, Mr. Anderson?
Pretty much.
So if you don't have city water, it really restricts what can go in there because everything's gotta be sprinkled so extensively these days.
Yeah, it reduces the size of the building you can put in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I personally think the idea of having water there, if we can get it, the other big section up,
Okay, there we go.
that is right there, that's also available, is my understanding. I think Goldman's greenhouse has got plans in there.
Goldman's is a lot right just north of Pat's there.
Are they? Yeah.
Right, butts up to that big lot there on Sims and 65.
So Matt, is that the parcel that you're looking at that goes up to Sims?
Up to Sims here, right? So
Got it.
comes
Okay.
down,
Gotcha. Okay.
comes down through here. I'm questioning how far south it goes at this point. I'll have to get that. I can send that out to all the members.
I think it just dead ends, Matt.
It
doesn't
dead
even
ends.
it isn't even a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, that dead ends, that's Johnson's, right there where it dead ends.
And then the dollar store is right there.
So we
right?
have a business park up here already, but again,
Yes,
larger lots.
yes.
And we would continue that business park going south,
Okay,
again, with smaller lots, higher densities at that point.
right.
Um,
I mean, depending on what pricing is and what motivation is for some of the existing landowners, I mean, I think we could certainly consider it.
If I had to throw a number at it, I would estimate an updated flyover would be around, because it's gonna include other areas of the city as well.
Sure,
kinda-
like the other one that we had done several
Yep,
years ago.
Yeah, but we could ask them to kind of zero in a little bit on this as well. I would estimate that'd be maybe around $1,000 or less, hopefully. And a kind of a master plan of this area. Again, we would want to reach out to the property owners and kind of let them know what we're doing. I don't think that that would be something they should oppose, but we'd certainly want to get their permission on that. But a master plan on this might cost you around $5,000 to have somebody go through and kind of do a streetscape view and an aerial view and kind of some very usable marketing pieces. But those are just estimates that I'm,
Sure.
After chatting with an individual that kind of does this. There's another developer that may be doing it as well. So it may not be, if they decide that this is going to be their next area they want to focus on, then they'll make that investment. Actually, they had indicated they may do is they do what's called a right to purchase over a given period of time. They'll give them earnest money. I don't know, $10,000 maybe of earnest money, and then they control that area for a given period of time, and then if the state awards us bonding dollars, then their bet works, right? I mean, they get payday then at that point. If it doesn't work, then they may lose $10,000 as a gamble. But at any rate, it's right now, a lot of these parcels, you'll drive out there today, you'll see for sale signs. You've seen them there for a long time. Some of them are actually falling over, but it's I think again, with this whole idea of Highway 65, which will be completed in the next couple of years here, you're going to start seeing these pressures coming north of, businesses now, they can get to and from market easier without congestion. They're going to start wanting to locate. If they locate, then you have, jobs that come with that, and people, like we've discussed, that would otherwise work down in Eden Prairie can now work, 2 minutes from home. It's a pretty big boost in quality of life. So
I think the whole flyover, so last time we did that, that was as a marketing effort, I think for the MinCar Expo or one of the other events that we were having. And I had talked to Aaron about this a while back, but just really getting, I think as we talk about goals for the EDA, one of my goals this year, I'd really like to get our available site information back up to speed on our website. In my business, I'm on a lot of city websites, and we just aren't there. It's tough to navigate. It's not obvious. So just having an interactive map, a lot of that can interact with GIS, and I think right now our site links to MinCar, which isn't the most usable, and you can't get a lot of information. So I had some other ideas of different places that it could link. And I'd be happy to help head that up or coordinate with staff. But just, what do we have out there? We talked about pad-ready sites. Do we have pad-ready sites? And the flyover. So that's something that I'd like to.
Madam Chair, here's the flyover.
7 years ago.
Yes.
We recognize some roads that have been since completed.
Right. We've got a lot of new buildings and.
And when you mentioned Ghost Plat, this would be like graphics superimposed within the video to kind of add some graphic representation.
No, the video would be something separate.
Something separate.
This would just be a piece that could be mailed, could be emailed, kind of this is what it could look like type of thing, digital type of piece, but not a video.
Okay.
Not necessarily
It would
video.
just be a static, with maybe some site elevation, some renderings,
Okay.
just some architect. Our firm does that all the time for different things. So just how things would lay out, where it would sit on the lot, and
I think it gets creative juices going for folks.
absolutely.
Which, it does cost a little money, but it's, if you land, it's kind of like the snowball, little snowball that starts, if you start landing deals pretty soon, you're building out this whole park, and it's the place to be. So we could name it the Anderson Park or something. I don't know. Come up with some name.
Right.
I don't know if he picked up on that.
There's already one in East Whittle.
I mean,
There is, that's right.
sooner or later, at some point in time, something's gonna happen to the dump, so to speak, the old Sylvester landfill. And as far as I know, the gentleman that still owns it is a resident of Andover. You probably had some dealings.
Is that Tom Kurek?
Pardon?
Tom Kurek?
Yeah.
He's a resident of Ramsey. Yeah.
Ramsey, Ramsey.
Yeah.
And my understanding, and again, I've got a little experience in construction and site work, is that it isn't so much the soil that is contaminated as it is the water that's that is in there. So anything that gets built there is going to have a municipal water system. I mean, the first thing that, and I'm not going to say it's a concern, but the plume from that landfill is headed to the southwest. And where it is now, I don't know. And to tell you the truth, the person who I used to get my information from is no longer walking the face of this earth. He worked for Went. I hope that we don't have a problem with the quality of the water coming out of there. Now, it'd be a very deep well. I know that, from my experience. Sooner or later, someone's gonna do something with that dump. I mean,
Is that not an MPCA Superfund site?
yes, it was and it is. And
Okay,
Yeah.
so, I mean,
The MPCA sent us a letter quite a few years ago saying that we could drill no more wells around that site.
yeah, you can't drill domestic wells.
Right,
Yeah,
so
so
this
you
would be
have to
a
have-
city well with a treatment center associated with it, so they would undoubtedly, not oppose that because we're treating the water to a safe standard.
You can move a lot of water in a pipe.
I will just say from a financing standpoint, there was an event center that was looking at going up there several years back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on an
heard.
SBA loan board,
I remember that.
and
Yep.
we denied it. You can't, it's gonna be really tough to get financing on that, just because of the environmental issues, in my opinion, but I could be wrong. But we have lots of other land, that's the good news,
And
right?
and the other thing is that, again, as a guy who built buildings,
Mhm.
we got nice land to build on. It's sand, for God's
We've
sakes.
got great land.
I was so tired of building on muck
Mm-hmm.
and heavy soils and driving pilings everywhere.
Yeah, so we should get the word out. I love the idea of getting this whole marketing effort going, and any other ideas or comments, anybody?
Well, like that Curric land, that's ideal for an industrial park, that 120 acres. If you pipe water and sewer to that, that's ideal industrial park area,
Yeah, that's a good point,
because nothing else is ever gonna get built there.
right.
I think he's
Which area are you
proposing,
talking about? Which area are you talking about? This one or the one up by Sims?
Farther,
The one up by the landfill, Curric owns 240s in front and one alongside
And
of it.
where was that landfill? I'm lost on that.
217th
217,
to the east side of 65.
okay.
kind of up in this area here.
Yeah, we kind of drive by it on our way here.
I-
The properties which you highlighted, Matt, are they part of the master plan that we had established a few years back? Or would this be in addition to that?
The comp plan,
Comp plan, sorry.
this would have been a change to the comp plan.
Okay.
So we submitted that change to the Met Council. They did not oppose it, even though it was reducing residential. I think their feeling is that given some of the trends that are happening in East Bethel, there's more residential maybe coming than planned unit developments and that sort of thing that would probably offset the difference. I think right now the Met Council is particularly interested in increasing the flow rate to their plant, which is running terribly inefficiently right now. So an industrial park such as this would be a welcomed, addition to their plant, and the schools as well, of course. And so their goal right now, I think, is to support whatever economic development we can bring to the table, so that'll improve the operations that they have. Right now, I guess they're pumping water into it just to make it run efficiently. So it's a little concerning for them, but I've met with the Met Council, I've met with their administrator, and they're embracing this idea, and they're supportive of our ask of the state. As you can tell, things aren't going very well down at the state right now. And the last time that there was an even number, it blew up then too. So we're hoping that they can figure things out there, and that there can be some sort of a bonding bill, because there's backlog projects, of course, that need to be funded, maybe others that don't, but anyways, majority hopefully need to be funded, and the longer you wait, you add 8% construction inflation to every one of them, so you're burning money.
Right.
But this is one that I heard a story that someone was attending the school, and they saw a jug of water on the counter and thought it was lemonade. That's the color that's coming out of the ground, and so there's people, whether it's the tannins or whatever's in that water, there's people that are concerned about that. And so I think given the fact that their water supply, their septic systems are kind of wearing out, that this is good timing for them, and good timing for usually the clean water type of project at the state are not batted around politically. I mean, they're understood that they're important and need to be funded. There's other projects that do get that, you know, tougher scrutiny, I think, than clean water projects. But anyways, we're hopeful that they'll see the value in it.
Matt, when you, let's say you turn to the west on 209th, you go up to Johnson Street, okay? That kind of squiggly parcel be off to the northwest of the corner of the purple squares that you have there? Yeah, down south, pull straight south. How is that parcel right there zoned? Because that has no development on it at all, and that I'm aware of at this point in time.
I believe Johnson's come in here about a year or two ago, and they were trying to get that rezoned, and I think it got denied, if I'm not mistaken.
What was he trying to have it, what's
I
it
think
zoned
he was
as now?
going for multi-family housing and
He
everything.
wanted it to be
I
multifamily?
believe that's what it was.
Okay,
I think that was the ghost platting
Yeah.
that they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that could change as well. You know, it's not, you know, generally you'll do commercial, industrial, then more high density as you're going into, you know, density,
well,
or lower density rather. So,
I mean,
that could still fit.
the golf course, I remember, has covenant on it. That is undevelopable.
Right.
For housing. If it stops being a golf course, what I remember is if it stops being a golf course, it comes back to the city on a conservation easement.
Okay.
That's what I remember. Also, the two little squares, rectangles,
Up here?
just to the west of the matching purple squares.
Oh, right there.
Why wouldn't those be included in a rezoning also?
There's houses on there. Those are houses from the golf course.
Oh, really?
It comes out that far, just that strip you mentioned that ain't plotted.
Those two right there.
Yeah, there's a cul-de-sac there. There's like 3 houses on that cul-de-sac.
A private drive.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a quick
Those are big
cul-de-sac off the main
parcels.
drive there. Because I know that back row of houses on the golf course, they wanted to buy all that land up front, and they wouldn't sell it to them, because they don't want nobody building up to the back of them.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting.
At any rate, if, you know, this is just a kind of a discussion, but if there's a consensus to forward this to the council, we can certainly put an agenda item on the city council's agenda and talk through, you know, kind of a marketing plan or a budget of some, you know, X amount that can be used to try and promote this area, if you guys feel that that's
And
direction you'd like to take it.
Could we make any recommendations on other general marketing, like the available site information I talked about?
Available site in terms of,
So just a map on our website that would have all the available sites listed in the city with links that would go to more information.
I'm thinking the Anoka County ACRED has that in a database.
They're linked to MinCar though. I mean, I'll send you a couple of examples of some
Okay.
really great city websites that have.
We're going to be revamping our website.
Okay,
So that change is going to be coming up here. We get a free redo on a website. So we're starting that conversation. Wanted to get through elections and everything else. So it was
Okay.
crazy. And then, you know, we can certainly look at adding something like that for an economic development tool.
and even from a citizen information tool, there's some cities have, okay, if this parcel is blue, it means it's in planning, or it's been approved, or it's waiting to be planned. So just so somebody could click on the website just to see what's going on,
Sure.
because right now it's just not intuitive.
These are the comments we need for the website changes. Definitely.
Yep,
So,
I'll send you some good examples.
okay.
Anything else on this, or? So do you need a formal recommendation from us for the flyover and the marketing discussion, or what?
Yeah, if you want to recommend, I don't know if you want to put a dollar figure to it or not, but if you want to make a formal recommendation to city council to pursue that, we can bring that back to council then and see where they land on wanting to promote that and get behind it.
And this would just be for a marketing plan, not so much the rezoning part that would come afterwards, is that correct? That's a sequence that needs to happen?
The rezoning?
Mhm.
The rezoning's already done.
Already done,
Yep, completed.
okay, so now it's just a matter of marketing it.
Now it's a matter of communicating with the landowners that we'd like to help you market it. And and again, kind of, I'll touch base with this developer to see if they're, what their thoughts are, if they're still gonna be interested in trying to secure this whole corridor. Evidently they're, I don't wanna say deep pockets, but I think that they have some people that are interested in this. They understand the pressures that'll be coming. So I think that, those people that can identify change before it happens can generally capitalize on that,
Right.
so. Our job is just to get the information out there.
That's right.
Get it out there, get
It's
people
all about
interested.
Communication.
Yep.
Anybody want to make a motion to do the flyover, or can I make the motion?
You can?
I would make a motion that we commit to some funds, and I guess we would leave that at the council's discretion. I'm not certain what this would cost, but just to do an updated flyover video as a marketing effort as the city. And then I'd like to just start a discussion about when we update the website to have an available sites map and linkable information.
Okay.
That's what I would.
I'll second.
Okay.
And the funding, by the way, for this, if it's approved, there are dollars in the EDA budget,
Okay.
or in the EDA funds that have accrued over the years
Sure.
that can be used for this type of a public purpose, so.
Okay.
For discussion, I want to ask a question though. Would you get multiple bids on this, or do you have an idea of where you're going to go to get this flyover done, or?
We can, this would again kind of fall under professional services, but we could certainly investigate, 3 options that are out there. The current individual that did the flyover, they'd probably be one party we would reach back out to and say, what would it cost to update this? And, they may be the least expensive to just do an update. But there are I know there's 2 other people that do it, that I would reach out to and say, hey, what would it cost to, kind of do something here and
Perfect. Okay, thanks.
try and make sure we get good value.
It's kind of tough to bid something like that. You need to have a plan and a spec to be able to really have true bids. And yeah, I agree that
Well, they would give us a proposal.
yeah,
Yeah.
RFP.
Yeah. Well, they would send us a proposal, that it would be this long of a video, that sort of thing.
This amount of time
Yep.
Yeah.
and editing, et cetera.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion?
In terms of timeline, this would be happening sooner rather than later? Or would you want to wait for spring to make things more green?
I would think so.
I think so.
That's definitely a consideration. I would leave it up to maybe the individuals we would decide to work with. Maybe they're slower now, they can fit it in at a better rate than in the springtime. Maybe they'll be really busy. I don't know what they're, how they would price things necessarily, but I think the flyover would probably, from a timing standpoint, probably be the first thing, and then it would take a little bit longer to do a marketing piece,
More detail.
quality marketing piece, so.
It would be nice to get the townhomes in and get some greenery and get the
Right.
color over there. So,
Right.
it'd be ideal late spring, I
Right.
think.
Have it
Yeah.
looking fresh and bright
Right.
and whatever. I just like doing it in the dead of winter.
Mhm,
Doesn't
mhm.
attract anyone.
Okay.
No place in Minnesota is flattering this time of year.
Unless you're an ice fisherman, but anyways.
Great. Any more comments or discussion? Should we take a vote to, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We will send that motion to the council.
Okay. And I believe, Madam Chair, that that brings us to the end of our agenda.
Yes, we've got the city
city council
council report.
Mayor's looking at me.
Yeah.
So essentially, you know, we had one city council meeting, you know, where we kind of established committees and that sort of thing. And everyone, you know, kind of divides up some of the workload associated with the council. There really wasn't any sort of, it was a shorter meeting. Not a whole lot of work was done aside from the organizational side of things. But I know that that things are going to start getting busier, and we'll have certainly a lot more to report as time goes on here.
So the consulting,
Landform.
landform, the consulting agreement that we have, so is that only for planning, or is that playing somewhat of a community development role, or is this just planning?
Yeah, this would just be for the planning side of things, because when a application is sent in, you've got a deadline you have to meet. You have to try and make sure they get all their information in so that you can make a decision as to whether their project's going to fit on that parcel of land, or is it going to work with the neighbors and zoning and everything else. Sometimes we'll get requests from you know, the Shoreland Overlay District down by the lake. There's a whole lot of regulations that apply down there that that people just aren't aware of. And so having somebody that understands the code clearly like that and can you know, give correct information when they're asked questions, you know, is what they're essentially being hired for. Additional to that, though, we have not really had anyone look at our code for quite a few years, and so you know, when they look at it and say, well, this isn't kind of the way everybody does it anymore, they kind of do it this way now, or more efficiency in a different way of doing it, they would recommend changes to the code at that point, kind of more of an update. The prior council at least had indicated interest in making sure that the code is clean and efficient, isn't kind of producing more variances than need be. If everybody's asking for X, Y, and Z, maybe you allow for that in the code then, as opposed to having to bring everything through on a variance. Those type of changes. So they'll have that opportunity to look at that and make recommendations for changes. But essentially, yeah, those questions that are specific to planning, they're going to be handling. So all emails that are coming in will go directly to them. Phone calls will go directly to them, and they'll be answering those questions. And you know, if sometimes people be asking for things they can't do. You know, so they have the expertise in handling that and how to give them, you know, the information they need so that they're not wasting their time trying to get it to the council where it would be ultimately get denied or something of that nature. So I see a lot of value in what they do, and as I indicated to council, it's some people say you can get a 2-year degree. I know there's a 4-year degree in planning. I don't know. I've not seen a 2-year, but that's not to say it doesn't exist. But there's that, and then there's state certificates you can get on it. So there's a discipline for this type of work that makes it difficult for somebody to just pick up and run with it, you know, and try to be effective at it. So, but at any rate, I don't think the schools are necessarily turning out a whole lot of them right now. They're difficult to find. And what I'm hearing also from the planners is for them to hire people, cities are actually stealing from them. So they have to raise their rates to keep people in-house. And then, of course, when they contract out their services are pricey because they have to price it to keep people. It's maybe a kind of a market out there where people are going a little bit of a feeding frenzy.
It's a healthy market out there for employment, for sure.
Yeah.
I know St. Cloud State has a program like that. How do I know? On planning, my youngest daughter graduated,
How many years? How many years?
4,
4 years.
4
Okay.
years. And
Does she want a job in East Bethel?
Yeah.
she actually interviewed here many years ago.
Oh,
And, yeah, back in the Colleen days.
Okay.
The biggest, it's not a bad degree, because what happens is that generally you go to work for Target, Walmart, different things like that. It's colleges, or I mean corporations, that grab the kids that have that because they have all those GIS skills and
Sure.
all of that kind of stuff, and they manipulate the data and things like that. So, yeah.
It's like a different language when you're talking to cities, you know, on the layouts and everything else and setbacks, and it's a discipline, no doubt about it.
I have a question about actions that the council has taken. I have heard a rumor that the Anoka County Union is no longer our legal newspaper.
That's correct.
Who is?
The Isani Star, I think that's the name, Isani Star.
We're not in their zone.
No, they do cover down into our area.
They
They
cover,
meet,
they have enough coverage down here to be a legal
Yes.
conforming.
yep. There's a minimum threshold of coverage they have to have that they meet by law.
What can I ask, Matt, what drove that decision?
Price.
Well, we received a proposal from them for $3 a square inch of, for advertising versus $11 an inch with
okay.
the ABC. And as, you know, I'll be honest with you, I mean, everybody that is in this line of work looking for, reading these type of things or wanting to find out what jobs are out there, you know, the cities are putting out. I mean, they're probably going online. But the papers back in the day before the internet, you know, paper was the thing. I mean, that was the only thing, you know, but that law has kind of followed through till today where they're still requiring cities to advertise in papers. For notices, and cities have tried, counties have tried. I know we tried at Anoka County to try and get them to change it, that if you're doing it online, that should suffice. Nope, they would hear nothing of it. So I think the lobbyists for the paper printing companies are pretty strong. They're effective. So
No doubt, Elmer Anderson had a lot of
yeah.
pull and things like that. I know that there's legal notices that need to be published.
Yep.
And that was my concern, that
Yep.
that what was going to be published in that publication was going to satisfy the legal requirements.
Yep. It will.
Thank you.
Yep.
can I ask one more marketing question? Because you were talking about notices and things. Can the cities have LinkedIn pages? Do we have a LinkedIn page?
I've seen other cities with LinkedIn pages, but
I can't
don't
answer
think
that.
we have.
I know we have a Facebook page. I'm not sure about LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, I just think if we're advertising for a community development director, I've got thousands of connections. I mean, you just repost it and reshare it and, get it out into the business community. I'd like us to consider that too.
Yeah, the interesting part of that is when we post on the leagues, Minnesota League of Minnesota Cities, we post on their website. Search engines like Monster and that, they come in and they harvest all that data and then they post it on theirs.
Okay.
So there's a huge spread of this information because they can get their hits up and that sort of thing. It's part of their strategy. But yeah, I think the search engines are out there data mining all this all the time and pulling it and using it, and and certainly we can look into LinkedIn if we aren't already in there. I'll have to ask Carrie. I'm not sure if we are. I haven't heard of it yet.
Yeah,
but-
I mean, just if we have a groundbreaking or a ribbon cutting or just our new video, getting it out there.
Yep.
Just more communication with people out there, supporting our existing businesses.
And it will bring businesses interested in coming out here.
Absolutely. Site of the week. Look at this land-ready parcel, or, you know, shovel-ready parcel. So
Right.
just some ideas for marketing. One more question before we adjourn. So can we plan ahead for next month? Because we're on President's Day for our meeting on that Monday. So if we all communicate and if we're going to do the Tuesday, because then we'll want to figure out our interviews for the EDA position.
Right.
So what I will do, Madam Chair, if you'd like, is I can keep everyone kind of updated on what we have coming in for applications.
Okay.
That might kind of dictate whether we meet and other agenda items that might be coming up. So if you are all successful in recruiting people, we'll have applications.
Okay. Sounds good.
So at any rate, I think, you know, I think business people are sharp, you know, that can serve on this and bring ideas, and I think that's a benefit to this committee and certainly to the city overall. So
Excellent. Well, I think we're at the end of our
Motion
agenda.
to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I think
Okay.
we gotta go back to number 4 there. We elected the president, vice president, but we didn't appoint the secretary.
I think our
Carrie's the secretary.
bylaws say that it's Carrie Frost, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
if you just want to make a motion for the
yeah.
treasurer,
Ah, okay.
assistant treasurer, and secretary,
Another bulk motion.
I guess, yeah, I didn't.
doesn't hurt.
Okay, so you called out the
I,
chair and vice
Yeah.
chair. Okay,
yeah,
good point.
oh, how should I put it? They're not statutory positions. The ones that are required by the EDA bylaws,
Right.
Matt Look, Mike Jaworski, and Carrie Frost, as submitted also.
All right. And that's your motion?
That's my motion.
All right.
Second.
All right, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we've got the appointment. All right.
My
Now,
motion stands.
your motion stands to adjourn. Did I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.